also, we're gonna be talking about the posterior pelvic tilt, which is PPT. So if you hear me using that language, that's what we're referring to. So the posterior pelvic tilt is super important because of two reasons. One, it's gonna automatically help you increase glute activation, but two, if you experience low back pain, tight hip flexors, weak glutes, this is most likely due to something called an anterior pelvic tilt. And as a female, a lot of us just automatically experience this. When we are in an anterior pelvic tilt, which is oftentimes caused by sitting, our hip flexors tend to tighten. We tend to have a weak core. Our lower back takes the pressure, and our glutes, they're typically weaker. And all of that is why we're going to be performing the posterior pelvic tilt to help correct that. So first things first, let's just demonstrate. Anterior tilt, posterior tilt. Anterior tilt, posterior tilt. To create that, you want to sit up nice and tall, and then you want to think about bringing your rib cage down and then tucking your pelvis underneath you, or your tailbone underneath you. As you do this, you'll kind of get what I call grandma butt, which is just like your little cheeks squeezing together. And we're going to be practicing the posterior pelvic tilt, or if you hear me reference it, just automatically think, tuck my butt, squeeze my core, and then tuck my butt. And just an example of how we would do this in the hip thrust form. So we set up, shoulder blades on the edge of your bench, eyes are forward, and here's what's important. Tuck your chin, and then find your sternum. That's where your rib cage meets. And find your sternum, just put your hand there. From here, I want you to make sure that your rib cage is down. And now we can perform our posterior pelvic tilt. So we extend the hips up, and then we tilt the pelvis. And that's where you're gonna start to feel that extra glute activation. Notice that from my rib cage up, my body is fairly still. I'm really just focusing on lifting my hips and then tilting my pelvis. So rib cage down, tilt the pelvis. Rib cage down, tilt the pelvis. And that, you guys, is gonna be the key to your bigger glutes and just overall healthier pelvis position.